Welcome to the She Business webinar, and this webinar is designed to give you an overview of She Business and all that we're doing to help Australian businesswomen reach financial independence through business by creating leveraged and sustainable and investor-ready businesses. My name is Susie Jacobs. I'm the CEO of She Business, and I'm joined today by my co-presenter Tanya Tipman, who is the CEO of Consolidate. For those of you who don't know She Business, we are Australia's only business club for women. And you might be wondering why and what are we about? Well, we exist because there are some really exciting things happening within the Australian economy. We know that Australian women are opening businesses at a far greater rate than men. In fact, there's been a 25% increase in the past 10 years. And I meet many of these women. They're feeling empowered, they're feeling excited about what lies ahead in their business journey. But unfortunately, the news isn't all good. Most of us will earn significantly less, get less funding, employ less staff, and are less likely to crack the $1 million revenue mark than our male counterparts. And very sadly, sad to report, is that we're also more likely to end up below the poverty line. These are real stats coming out of research and surveys taken from the Australian marketplace. If we take those details and layer up on top of that the fact that we know that less than 2% of female-owned businesses crack the $1 million revenue mark. Now that stat comes out from the US, but it is relative to the Australian market. You may be sitting there and thinking to yourself, that's fine. I'm not interested in building $1 million business. However, that number is significant because it is a reflection of deeper problems. Over 50% of female business owners in Australia do not pay themselves a wage, and nearly 60% do not contribute to a superannuation fund. So when I started out talking about less likely to be as financially successful, to employ staff, these are significant problems within the building of businesses by women. Now, it's complex as to why this is the case. Why aren't we as financially successful? And it doesn't take much to have a look in our background and see that we predominantly have not come from the place of being the primary breadwinner within our family structure. We were busy creating and looking after our family. So we don't have that long history of business building. So because we don't come to business from that primary breadwinning perspective, we start businesses because we're looking for flexibility, to work around our family. We're looking to add value to our community, to be self-expressed, and to be driven by passion and purpose to really make a difference in the world. And when we survey women, we find that quite low down on the list is the need to be financially independent. So our approach to business is quite different to that of our male counterparts. I touched on the fact that we've got family commitments, and that means we don't have the ability to have that single-minded focus on purely building a business. It's distracting. We've got lots of other things that we also need to be attending to in our lives. For many women, we undervalue ourselves, and particularly when it comes to the sorts of industries that women tend to choose, they're service-based industries, and they tend to be lower paid industries. And as I said at the outset, we're not the primary breadwinner. So you can see that there are complex reasons and complex circumstances for the female business owner that contribute to those stats that we originally talked about. So layer on top of that the fact that women do not ask for help. And we know there was research that McKinsey's did in 2011 out of Europe, and they found that time and again men outperform women when it comes to singing their own praises, asking for what they need, standing out in a crowd, and speaking up during meetings. And in fact, we created this acronym, which is SASSY, and Women Getting Sassy, as a way to remind women that we need to work that muscle and we need to get better at asking for help. Because if you look further down on that slide, you can see some interesting statistics. In the BRW Fast Starters report from 2013, for a start, only 8 of the 183 businesses listed there were founded by women. But if you read further on, it says 26% of those businesses appointed a CEO and 20% appointed a board of directors during the setup phase of their business. So these were people who knew that they brought expertise to the table. They brought a level of leadership and entrepreneurialism, but they didn't have all the skills that they needed to build a successful business. So they asked for help. And women are just not as good at doing that as their male counterparts. Layer on top of that again that we know that women are more risk averse than men. And there is a mindset about not investing in ourselves. Men are quite happy to walk into a bank and borrow a couple of $100,000 or $1 million to get their business up off the ground. Women generally go to their savings, go to their credit card, and go to family and friends to borrow money. And immediately those businesses are started with not enough capital and not enough resources to truly build a successful business. And things that impact our decision around investing is, we've got concerns around our family and the money that it costs to run a family, not wanting to jeopardize our family. As I said, we're more risk averse. We have this low startup capital, and that has ongoing impact on the success of our businesses. And for many, if you go back to the fact that we're not primary breadwinners, the mindset of it's just a small business, it's just a part-time business, impacts our ability and our need and our willingness to go out and borrow money to invest in ourselves. So you can start seeing that the journey for a female business owner is complex. Of course, and we can add on to that we have a mentality of doing everything ourselves. We wear it as a badge of honor that we are multitaskers, that we can do it all ourselves. And once again, this stops us developing our journey where we bring in outsourced help or get assistance in the home so we can spend more time working on our businesses. And so that mentality of I must do everything myself impacts our success. Women also, it seems, are born with 2 additional genes, guilt and martyrdom. And if you look there on the slide, really fascinating statistic. They went and spoke to the top 100 female leaders across US and Europe. 92% of them admitted to clocking off their day job only to clock onto domestic duties at night. That is phenomenal. We're talking top 100 leaders in corporate arena across Europe, and 92% of them said that they clock off their day job and clock onto domestic duties. So you can see that there is a need for us as we look at our business journey to take all these issues and consider them as we grow our businesses, but not continue to use them as excuses for why we're not building leveraged and sustainable business, because this is our financial future and our financial independence at stake. So She Business, Australia's only business club for women, we've dedicated ourselves to creating a membership that truly works for women. We've done the research, invested the time and resources to fully understand and structure our memberships so they work to the preferences of how we like to learn, network, build businesses, collaborate and grow. And as a business club, we knew we wanted to bring in the best. And so we have created alliances with a bank, which is Commonwealth Bank's Women in Focus, with a business strategy and financial services firm, which is Consolidate, and you're about to hear from their CEO, Tanya, in a moment. And we're reaching out and creating really strong alliances with with angel investor networks, so that you can see our focus is to build leveraged, sustainable, and investor-ready businesses, so that we create generations of financially independent women who own their own business. You can see from our mission statement, we're dedicated to education, the support of business owners and entrepreneurs to create these sustainable and leveraged businesses. We're passionately committed to the personal and professional success of our members, franchisees, and team. So a quick overview on what you'd find at She Business is we have 3 tiers of membership depending on where you are in your business journey. Everyone from startup through to women who are looking to diversify and potentially exit their business has a place within She Business. At our Sapphire level, it is the entry level, and there we're providing a level of awareness and education, accountability, and a phenomenal community to support you in your journey. When we look up towards Diamond membership, these are businesses who are really, they're sort of 3 years on in their journey generally, perhaps even more. They are looking for real growth and manageable growth. So they're looking for the strategies and planning. They come to a Diamond membership looking for that level of accountability, strategy, implementation, and of course, community. And our top end, which is Emerald, and people ask us, why is Emerald? The top diamonds are more expensive. In fact, in their finest, in their purest form, an emerald is far more valuable than a diamond. So for our Emerald members, they have got good, successful businesses, and they're looking to either diversify, to really find efficiencies and greater profit within that business, and they're looking to work with our business consultant, looking to work on strategy, implementation, accountability, and community. So at this stage, I'm going to pass over to our business alliance partner, Consolidate, the CEO, Tanya Tippmann, and Tanya's going to take you through what's available to you as a businesswoman. If you choose to look over the next 12 months and know for yourself that change needs to happen in your business, and that you're looking for that direction, that accountability, and you're looking at going on a journey which gives you absolute sense of security in your growth, in your business over the next 12 months. And so Tanya's going to cover off really a focus around our Diamond and Emerald membership. So on that note, please let me introduce to you the CEO of Consolidate, Tanya Tippmann.
Thanks very much, Susie, and welcome everyone. What I'd like to take you through over the next 15 minutes is just to have a look at the structure of the Emerald and Diamond programs, and I guess give you a little bit of background about why we've structured the program in that way, and also the things that it can do to assist you in your business and your plans for business growth. So in Australia, we have some fairly staggering statistics in terms of business failure. And this is probably what prompted us to start working together and to look at what we can do to assist businesses. And typically in a business, we get to a stage in that 18 months, somewhere between 18 months and 3 years, where it becomes quite challenging. The business is growing. It gets a little bit more than just one person operating a business. You start to need some staff. You start to need expanding business premises. So all those sorts of things create a lot of stress, a lot of requirement for further capital injection into a business. And it's also a point at which a lot of businesses tend to fail. So that the areas where business failure typically come around those growth pains, it's the growing pains that businesses go through. And that's at that point, certainly it's 18 months to 3 year mark. A lot of people choose to exit out of business, to give it away, to go and get a job, because the responsibility is a lot less, and it's just much easier to deal with everyday life when you don't have to run your business as well. So at that point in time, those businesses that do push through tend to find that they have a lot more financial success because they have pushed through, they've got that growth now in the business, they're leveraged. But there also comes another point at which a lot of businesses tend to fail, and that's anywhere from the 5 to 10 year mark, where we find that there's a staggering number of businesses that actually go out of business, either through mismanagement, so actually not having good financial management in place, or just choosing that, I suppose that the business is becoming too difficult to run, it's getting too big, they look for ways in which they can transition it, but they find that it's a business that they can't really sell because they've never set it up with that strategy in place. So 3 out of 5 businesses failing within the first 3 years and 9 out of every 10 failing within 10 years. It's quite a staggering statistic, and it's something that we really can do something about. And the program is very much designed around looking at those 2 points of business failure and what we can do to assist. So there's some fairly clear reasons as to why businesses fail, and the top 7 reasons that we find, and the structure of our program is very much designed around addressing each of these areas. So we find the first area is where businesses they fail to plan properly when the business first started. So you might have a great vision, but you actually don't have a clear strategy in place. And that strategy is a little bit more than just having a business plan. A lot of businesses will put a business plan in place, either for bank funding or things like that, but they don't actually go and implement that business plan. It becomes a document that then gets put in a drawer and it's never looked at again. So what we're talking about here is actually putting very clear financial plans in place, strategy, so business strategy in place, making sure that your marketing plans are in place. So looking at all areas of the business and really clearly defining and putting those plans in place so you understand what needs to be done over the next 12 months to make sure that your business doesn't fail. The next area that we find is a key area where businesses fail is failing to monitor their financial position. And particularly at the moment, cash flow is a big issue for businesses. And if you're not on top of your financial position, looking at your profit and loss and balance sheet, understanding what those numbers are saying, and having a budget in place to actually measure yourself against, it's highly likely that the business can quite easily spiral out of control to a point that cash flow becomes a major issue and it's a point of business failure. So we see a lot of business failure purely around not understanding the numbers and not having clear financial indicators in place. The next area that is highly documented is in terms of understanding the relationship between price, volume and cost. And this is regardless of whether you're in a services area, so you're selling professional services, or whether you're selling products. That relationship between price and volume is so critical, and understanding, making sure that you've got the right pricing strategy in place, understanding at what cost your product is being delivered, and making sure your margins are right. And it even goes further to make sure that you've got the right strategy in place in terms of whether you're growing your business based on trying to get more volume, so more customers or clients through the door, or whether you're trying to grow your revenue stream by increasing price. And you can get some very, very different results depending on which strategy you undertake. And if you undertake the wrong strategy, it can certainly lead to business failure. And so the tendency for a lot of businesses is just purely to increase volume. And sometimes that's not the right strategy for them to implement. So that's a key area that we look at addressing in this program. The next area is in terms of failure to manage growth. And so those 2 points of the most business failure that we see at 3 years and at 10 years typically is all around managing growth. And there's so many issues that come into that. It's around managing staff and building leverage into your business. How do you manage the additional working capital requirements that the business needs for funding that growth? So there's a lot of different issues around it. There's systems and making sure you've got the processes in place and the foundations in your business to manage that growth. So that's really quite a broad topic, but certainly very key to why a lot of businesses fail. Another one, which is something that we come across so often in dealing with our clients, is understanding the difference between profit and cash flow. And certainly one of the most often questions that I get asked from our clients is why is that profit actually not sitting in our bank account? We've made a profit, so on paper I should have all this money in my bank account, but it's not there. Where did it all go? So understanding actually the balance sheet gives you some great insight into where that profit has gone, and making sure that you have strategies in place to speed up the cash flow in your business, because as soon as we can start speeding it up, it certainly starts assisting on a number of fronts throughout the business. So when businesses typically operate purely by what's in the bank account, that's certainly a big indicator that we see, and certainly a precursor to a lot of businesses failing. So understanding that is critical. And the final thing is failure to borrow properly. So debt is great in terms of funding business growth, but you need to do it properly, and you need to know when to borrow, how much your business can afford to borrow, and how you actually structure that borrowing within your business. And quite often we see a lot of business failure around banks coming in and sort of withdrawing their funding to a business because it hasn't been set up properly and it wasn't done in line with the overall business strategy. So they're the key reasons that we see where businesses fail. And so the final one there is just failure to plan for the transition of the business. And this one really ties everything together in terms of making sure that you are always operating your business with a plan or with a business value in mind. So understanding what the value of your business is, making sure that you are investor ready at all times so that you can take opportunities as they come your way. So it might not be that you are planning to exit the business anytime soon, but certainly understanding what the business is worth and making sure that you've got a plan for that future transition is absolutely critical. And what we see a lot with businesses is that quite often there's an optimal time to sell your business. And if you miss that point and you miss that opportunity to sell your business and to get the most value out of it, it declines a lot from there, and you get to a point where the business can't be sold. And that could be from changes in technology, it could be from shifts in the market, it could just be from opportunities coming your way. So it's always important to have your business in a state that it could be transitioned. And making sure that you have a plan around possibly what that might look like. So what I'd like to run through now is just go to a little bit more detail about our program and how it addresses each of those points of failure that we see in businesses, because we've very much tried to design this program around turning businesses around. We have amazing results from the group of businesses that we've worked with over the last 12 months in terms of transforming their businesses and their lives at the same time. And how we've done that is really by addressing each of those 7 reasons in terms of business failure and expanding them out a little bit further. So the first thing, when you enroll in the program, the first thing that we do is actually work on your strategic plan, and that covers off all areas from your financial, your HR, operations, sales, so many different areas of your business. And how we do that is we get you to do a very in-depth questionnaire to start off. So prior to actually coming to your first workshop, we really look into all the areas in your business, ask a lot of questions which you may not have had time to actually sit back and think through since starting your business. But it's a really great starting point to extract out all the issues that you may already be aware of and some that you actually may not be aware of. And from there, we actually formulate a strategic plan for you to address over the next 12 months. And we do this with you in a very interactive way through our workshops. We actually work in those workshops on your strategic plan right throughout the 12-month program and make sure that we have action items there in place which we can start ticking off and addressing in your business throughout the program. So the first thing is very much around having that strategic plan in place, doing a bit of a health check on your business and getting some real measurable targets in place. The second thing that we focus on is your financial information. And what we see a lot in business is that just the basics, so many people just do not have even the basics in place, which might be around your budget. So having a budget in place, actually having some KPIs in your business, which might be both financial and non-financial, setting some targets for you, making sure that you have good financial information to make decisions on. A lot of people leave that financial information to a bookkeeper to do, which is great, takes that job off you, but it's the time frame in which you're getting that information which is really important, and the accuracy of the information that you're getting. So very hard to run a business without actually having a clear set of numbers in place, and also for you to understand exactly what those numbers are saying. So making sure that you understand what a profit and loss says and what a balance sheet says, and trying to sort of demystify those numbers for you. So we focus on that throughout the program. The next thing that we look at is in terms of looking at the pricing strategy. So one of the things that we've found amazing turnaround with the businesses that we've worked on in the last 12 months is getting the pricing right and getting the businesses to understand and do the analysis on whether they are actually driven by price or volume. Most people just tend to think they need to get more customers through the door, whereas sometimes it is actually around getting your pricing right, and having the confidence to actually redefine your pricing strategy. So we give you all the tools and resources and assistance to make sure that you can actually get that pricing strategy right. You can understand that the profit that you need to target into your business is actually supported by the right pricing strategy. We test, we analyse, and we look at all of those things to make sure that you are pricing your product or services correctly. As part of that, we also tend to have a look at the capacity side of things. So if we're setting some revenue targets for you, do you have the right capacity in the business, and what's it going to need to be able to support that? The next area that we focus on is cash flow, and this is something that we see a lot at the moment, that businesses are really finding it tough from a cash flow point of view. I think there's a lot of businesses that are doing it quite tough out there, but there's some really simple tools that you can use to actually speed the cash flow cycle up and create more cash flow in your business. And this is from looking at processes and systems, looking at how you're handling your accounts receivable or your debtors, how you have your terms of trade set with your customers. What are the terms? How can you actually make them more effective and work for you and not have those dictated by your customers? Speeding up the sales cycle. So how long is it actually taking you to go from lead to actually getting that client or customer through the door and paying for your services or product? The faster that we can make that cycle spin, the better that the cash flow will be in your business. If you're selling goods and services, it might be around speeding up the cycle of your inventory and making sure we've got some targets in place, and we look at all of those areas, and also put in place some cash flow forecasts which are built off your budget to give you some certainty around what that cash flow is going to look at over the next 12 months. And one of the big things that we find with cash flow is that GST and the quarterly BAS gives us a really false sense of security in terms of what our cash flow really is. So quite often we'll feel that we're quite secure because there's lots of cash in the bank, but as soon as we get to the quarter and have to lodge a BAS, we're going to lose our PAYG withholding that we've had in our bank account, and we lose the GST that we've been collecting. And that has a huge impact on our cash flow. So trying to give you some certainty around what that cash flow is going to look like when we factor in the timing of your tax and GST and all of your requirements there, as well as the terms that you're offering your customers. We can get a very defined cash flow in place and have some certainty around what funding your business is going to need in the next 12 months. The next area that we focus on is in terms of managing growth. And what we find in terms of growth is that typically it does require working capital to be able to fund a growing business. And how you actually get that working capital, when the right time for you to grow is, and there certainly is some right times and probably some times in which you wouldn't want to grow the business. So we look at, is it the right time to grow? How do you actually build leverage in your business so it's not all about you? Because to grow your business, you really need to take the reliance off you as the business owner, and you need to empower your team to be able to run the business. And that's how we extract the most value out of a business when we can get to that stage. When we look at HR issues in terms of growing your team, how you recruit staff effectively, what tools you can use, how you make sure that you are covering off on all of your legal requirements in terms of employing staff. And also looking at issues such as how do you actually fund that working capital, how much working capital are you going to need for your growth plans over the next 12 months. So typically in this business program, we're looking at high growth businesses, people that really want to transform their business, take it to the next level, and really see a lot of growth over the next 12 months. And the figures that we've had from the businesses we've worked with in the program over the last 12 months have been quite staggering. And I think the business owners that we've worked with have been quite surprised in terms of what they've been able to achieve themselves, because it's just been the little bits that we've been doing each month when we get together, talk about it, workshop it. Those little things make such a difference and end up in being quite enormous results when we get to the end of the year and look back over what's been achieved in the last 12 months. The next area that we look at is in terms of your debt and funding the business, how you should do it, how you use it effectively. Not all debt is bad, and certainly having debt to fund your business is essential at times. So how do you structure it, effective strategies for using it, how you can actually make it the most tax-effective thing for your business and get the best benefit out of working with banks, making sure that you have a good relationship with the bank. Also looking at what the bank looks at in terms of offering you funding for your business. So how are they going to assess your business, and making sure that when you put a proposal forward for debt funding, that you are ticking up all the things that the bank needs to see in terms of wanting to offer you funding for your business. So getting some clarity around those things that the banks are looking for, and giving you confidence around putting an application in for funding for your business. The next area that we're looking at in the program is the systems and the processes. So much about getting your business to be successful and to be have the foundations in place for good and strong growth in the business is around making sure you've got a very clear sales process in place, which is documented. It's got a good system for follow-up. All of those things are actually worked through in a flow chart, and making sure that we can see all of the areas and potentially the gaps in the process so we can fill them and make sure that all of the processes and systems in the business are very clear and are able to support the business in its growth plan. Administration is another area that is typically in a lot of businesses can consume a lot of time. So getting the best strategies in place for administration, and some of the technology that's available now can significantly reduce your administration costs. So looking at what options are available in terms of new technology, ways in which we can make sure that you've got very good and clear sales systems, administration systems, human resource systems, and operations in your business. So a very critical part of the growth plan is making sure that all of that is addressed. And quite often they're the things that when you're growing a business and your business is moving so fast, you don't have time to sit back and get those things right. So we take the time in this program to work with you, to workshop these things, and to make sure that you can tick off a lot of these things in our program, as opposed to actually giving you tools that you've got to walk away with and try and implement yourself. Because we all know when we go to workshops and seminars and sessions like this that we all have great intentions. We get really excited about what we learn. But if it then is left to you to go back and find the time to do it when you go back to your business, it's very unlikely that it's going to happen. So we really focus on making this a very hands-on workshop. We work through these things with you through the duration of the 12-month period, and it takes 12 months to do a lot of this because we're covering a lot of areas. So very, very hands-on in terms of what we're looking at. The next thing that we focus on is exit strategies and understanding the value of your business. So one of the key things is making sure that you know what your business is worth now and understanding what the potential of what your business could be worth in 3 to 5 years' time. So many businesses operate extremely successfully, but they really don't have any idea of what the business is worth. And so if an opportunity comes up, it's a last-minute sort of scramble to find out, okay, well, what's the business is worth? What's this going to look like if I partner with this person, or if I was to merge my business or to sell my business? And at that point in time, it's generally too late. You really need to be planning for your business value for any transition or exit strategy, and you need to understand what the business is worth now and the key things that you need to do to get it investor ready for the next 3 years. And we look at the actual value methodology and how a business is valued, and make sure you understand the mechanics of what someone's going to value your business at and how they look at it. And effectively, it is a simple formula which is made up of the business profit, so the profit that you're generating in the business, multiplied by a factor, a multiple, which is a representative of the risk in your business. So if the business was wholly reliant on you, your multiple is going to be quite low in terms of you might get 1 times your profitability in the business. However, if you have a great business which has a lot of great systems in place and it has good leverage and it's not reliant on you, then your business multiple in terms of what you're going to multiply your profit by to come up with a business value is going to be much higher. And we see businesses transition at multiples of 4, 5, 6 times, depending on what the business looks like and what the risk factor in that business is. So ideally, we want to grow the multiple in your business by reducing risk and covering off on all these areas that we've been talking about, as well as increasing your profitability in the business. So there are a number of areas there that I've gone through, and we expand on those, and some of those topics extend over more than one session because there is quite a lot in them. We also do a check back at the halfway point through the program where we find it's important to revisit our goals and potentially reset them because so much changes, and we found within the last 12 months of the program that many of the businesses changed so much over the 6-month period that we really needed to sit down and reset the goals again for the next 6 months. So it can be flexible and it can adapt to where your business is at. It also can adapt very much to where what things your business might be going through, and if there's some changes that happen throughout that 12-month period, which we often find with high growth businesses. So we do have 2 programs, one of those being the Silver membership and the other being Emerald. There are 2 programs for a very good reason, and that's because not all businesses are at the same stage of their business life cycle, and we need to look at putting you with a group of businesses which are going to be similar in terms of the issues that they're going to be facing. So the sorts of things we're looking at is the length of time that you've been in business. So if you're relatively new in business, if you're sort of in that 0 to 3 year time frame, then it may be more relevant for you to work in the Diamond level membership. If it's a more mature business, then we would be looking to potentially put you to the Emerald level membership, where you're dealing with businesses which may be more complex, may already have a number of staff, and are probably further developed in terms of their business life cycle. These things are certainly not all determinants of which program you're going to be sitting in, but we need to look at matching you to a group of business people which you're going to be able to work with, and the issues are going to be quite similar over the next 12 months. So not any one of these factors determines the group, but combined we look at it and assess which level of membership you would be most suited to. And at this point in time, I'm going to hand back over to Susie to take you through the structure of those membership levels and the pricing point. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanya. And I sit here listening to Tanya talk, and together we've delivered this introduction both live and online quite a few times, and it never ceases to get me excited because I tap back into the sorts of results that we got for our members, or they got for themselves last year. And although they were able to report back at the end of the year on their net profit increase, their revenue increase, their net equity increase, for many of them, it was the journey that they went on from business worker to business owner, that they were able to become the true CEO in their business and create that leverage, that sustainability, knowing that they had strategies and plans in place so that their business was being built on strong foundations. And that just gave them a whole new perspective on business. And it's funny, as you're talking, Tanya, I tap right back into that and get excited all over again. As Tanya said, there
I
are
know
two.
it was a great program. So it was certainly very exciting to go through the results at the end of the program and see such a transformation of these businesses that I think that a lot of the business owners, when we started out, were quite exhausted, and just to see the transformation in those business owners themselves was just a wonderful part of the program.
Yeah, it was indeed. And as Tanya said, we would love to have a conversation with you about your business, because it is personal. These groups are only small. In the diamond level membership, you're not working with any more than 12 non-competing businesses, and they're everything from creative design agencies through to film production, print brokers. We've had architects and interior designers. We've had online businesses come to us. So we never put you. Your industry and profession is always protected. You will be the only one of your industry in that group. They're very small. In the Emerald, it's no more than eight people in the group. And at this stage, for the 2013/14 groups, we only have a few places left. So if you're keen to have that conversation, let us understand where you are in your business growth, and we can direct you into the right program, and really understand that our commitment is to your financial independence, you building a leveraged and sustainable business, and we will give you the best advice possible, depending on what your needs are and your business situation is. So let me just quickly flip through so you get an idea of the membership pricing. So our Sapphire membership, which we have 14 groups of Sapphire members meeting every month across Sydney, and we're about to go into Queensland and down to Victoria in 2014, and there will be more of those again. When it comes to our Diamond membership, it starts on the 17th of July for the 2013-14 intake. It is $497 per month, and that's for the half-day workshop, including all your food and beverage package, plus the online members lounge, which supports you throughout the program, and a peer mentoring program that is a part of it. So it's an all-inclusive price for a half-day workshop, covering everything that Tanya talked about today. And with our Emeralds, it's a full day. So you're taking a whole day out once a month to be working on your business. And I think if there's one piece of advice we have all been given over and over again, is that those businesses which are successful are those which take the time to work on their business and not in their business. So we're really creating that space for you to do that. And we do it over 12 months because our interest is obviously having you build that sustainable and leveraged business, but it's also about you owning that, building your business acumen, because guaranteed, as you listen to this webinar, you are a passionate, purpose-driven, committed businesswoman. Not many of us out there have gone off and done an MBA or some sort of business degree, which allows us to also be an expert in that area. And our programs really get you to that place. It is your business education, as well as the success of your business, that we're looking at working on. So where to from here? Please email us and set up a call for us to have a further discussion. The best email address is Suzy, SUZY, at shebusiness.com. That's SUZY at shebusiness.com. Our head office phone number is Sydney 02 9113 0777. That's 02 9113 0777. It costs absolutely nothing to have the conversation, which is going to be valuable in itself and may kick off the journey for you creating an incredibly successful new financial year. So, thank you very much for your time and your attention today. I look forward to hearing from you. Tanya, thank you for getting me excited all over again about business.
My pleasure, Susie.
And we look forward to hearing from you and about your businesses. Thank you and have a great day out there.